Time to elevate one's mind. Inspire. Empower. Educate. Inspire. Time to shine. Empower. Time to shine. Educate. Time to shine. Time to elevate one's mind.
Hello, hello, hello. Yes, it's time to rise, time to shine, time to elevate the mind. Welcome to the TPLC Primary Learning Center Educational Talk Show. I am your co-host, Danny Thompson of Evolving Creatives, and with me is...
Me, Melenie Hibbert from TPLC. And what a brilliant show we've got lined up for you today. So I'm going to jump straight into it. Today we have a special guest with us that's come to tell us all about his amazing project. And I'm going to get him to introduce himself. So if you'd like to just say who you are and what it is that you do.
I'm very honored. Yes, hello. My name is Suraj Odekunle, and my project is titled The Man in the Mirror Project, which basically focuses on breaking the silence of abuse within the Black community.
Okay, that sounds really interesting. So I know that you've previously had an event about the Man in the Mirror. Can you explain that project, what that project was about?
Yes, the event I had previously was in around April time, and it was the third event I have hosted, and the event was titled I forgot even the name of the event. I think the event was titled Finding Our Roots within a Community and Empowering the Black Family. And on the day I had special guest speakers, also held a presentation, and there was also just like networking within our community.
Okay, I kind of want to take you back to the beginning of the Man in the Mirror project. Now, that was a documentary that involved lots of different people in the community, but if I remember rightly, it was essentially about your experience growing up and the things that you encountered and similarities that others might have had. Have I described that right? Or
Yes. So basically, the Man in the Mirror initiative was launched September 2014, and we launched the documentary, which there was a screening for, and the documentary was 50% of the documentary was about my life story and myself overcoming adversity, and the other 50% was about the ongoing traumas which we face within the community today. Yeah.
Okay, so what inspired you to create the documentary in the first place?
There was a series of things what inspired me to write and create the documentary. One of the things what inspired me was my experience first working within the public schooling system, working with Black youth who were on the verge of being excluded, and I felt in that position. I felt, what can I do as a brother to create something where we, it's just to create a platform where we can all relate to, and also go in depth of the ongoing situations which we face, which can be problematic within our community. So I just felt, you know what, let me write a documentary. That's just what came to mind. So
can I ask, can you explain a bit more what was the specific of the work you were doing, and what was missing for you?
At the beginning, I was working with interventions unit in a secondary school, and this secondary school had mainly Black students which attended, and I was working there as a volunteer, and I was working with a group of students who were on the verge of being excluded, and I think it basically took me back to my experience growing up as a young brother on living in South London, going through all the situations I went through, such as Well, boy, where can I start?
Just got to jump in.
Yeah. I went through a series of experiences, like the fostering, the street life, sexual abuse. Boy, the list goes on. Yeah.
Okay. I've seen the documentary, Man in the Mirror, and I saw it without knowing you, without knowing who you were as a person and that. And I found it totally inspiring. I found it totally inspiring. I was inspired by the honesty. I was inspired. And it kind of falls under the category of what you could call narrative healing. You know, we heal through telling our stories. Yeah, through sharing not just the pain but the joys of our stories. Was that something you was conscious of when you were making it?
Yeah, because I wanted to keep it. I didn't want to keep it so gloomy. You know, I wanted to have balance within it, just so people could see things from different perspectives, and just for people to have an insight of what has gone on in a young man's past and present. And also, I know, like, obviously people who've seen it was able to relate to it because of those experiences they may have had.
Yeah, and to see a black man overcome that, and you know, and again, the relating, because dare I say, you was a bit of a ladies' man.
Yeah,
well, you was proper on a ladies' man tip. But at the same time, one of the strengths I found I took from it was there was a strong sense of brotherhood. There were some brothers who'd been around you from way back in the day.
Yeah,
and it was interesting hearing their perspective on you know, a journey of a young man, from youth to manhood. Do you know what I mean? That was very, very informative. So I found it very, very inspiring, and it made me think about my own journey. And my own, you know, well, each one of us has a story. And that story can benefit others. Do you know what I'm saying? So props for that.
But it's even more powerful when the story that you give empowers our youth to kind of look at their life or differently, or gain a new perspective on the troubles and struggles that they might be currently going through, because our youth are facing so much. And it's not to say that we didn't face things as we were growing, or you didn't face things as we were growing, but it's about having the tools to be able to overcome them and to provide those tools. So the Man in the Mirror was that a need to be able to provide tools for our youngsters to be able to find ways to overcome?
Yes, it was, but at the same time, it was also open for discussion. It was also open for discussion because of what I was planning to do with the documentary is raise each, you know, those different topics which were in the documentary, like mental health, sexual and physical abuse, foster care, the public schooling system, parenting. And what I'm trying to do now is I'm trying to build with the community. Instead of always having people speak at the community, I think we should all come together to come up with solutions together, instead of me, you know, just giving a solution, because I can give you a solution, but obviously it may be from my own perspective on things. So I think it's good. I created it where, you know, it can cause that controversy, and, you know, people can just, you know, just come together and just build from that as a platform, you know. And it's at the moment, you know, it's been doing so well because the documentary is sold overseas. You know, I've sold copies in Las Vegas, Australia, Canada, North Carolina, New York, ATL, and yeah.
So you could say that it's almost something that's affecting the black community, whichever country they're in. So some of these topics are deeply embedded within our communities. So I like the idea that the Man in the Mirror project, the fact that you've discussed so many different elements there, so many different things, each one of those could be a springboard into a whole documentary talk in itself. You know, in terms of the plight of our children that end up in fostering, and the things that might happen to them in terms of child abuse, in terms of poor schooling or poor parenting and so forth. Each of those aspects are so vast and have so many ups and downs within them to be able to discuss all of those elements, if you see what I mean.
Yeah. And I think that was where later on in the journey I decided to come up with the Man in the Mirror project, because obviously before it was just titled The Man in the Mirror, and I wanted to mainly focus on abuse, because abuse is seen to a lot of people as a taboo within our community, and there's a lot of things which are covered up. Not many people feel comfortable talking about the topic because it could be obviously a touchy topic to deal with it, because of like there's people in our community who have faced abuse in different aspects and may feel uncomfortable with talking about it. So the whole purpose of me creating a documentary is to use myself as a template, so people can relate and see someone who was bold enough to be honest about certain experiences, that Suraj has gone through, and right now I've had since we've developed the brand, I've been in contact with people overseas in the UK who've been through similar experiences now, and we want to try to create other lines of platforms to obviously bring these people together and like to speak out. And in 2017 I am actually launching a support group for black males who've suffered from abuse.
Okay, so I just want you to elaborate on the word abuse, because abuse comes in many forms, and I just want you to sort of like give us an idea of the type of abuse or the breadth of abuse that you're making reference to.
Well, it is broad. It can be broad, but it kind of it dives into different like lanes, such as you have mental abuse, you have sexual abuse, and you have physical abuse. So they stem into different things as well, because we also have things like drug abuse. So there's all these different stems which obviously go into other stems when we're dealing with abuse, because it's such where as I said,
it's like where do you start from?
Where do you start from? Because obviously we're going back historically with how a few of these things emerged and have been placed within our community, where it has affected us for so many centuries.
Absolutely.
Sorry.
Yeah, and I mean, like you mentioned, like just 3 examples of abuse: emotional, sexual, physical. It's interesting, and then we see the symptoms of those abuse, which can which can express themselves as in drug abuse and what have you. Drug addicts are usually taking something to suppress a previous experience and that. I wanted to in terms of it's just, I don't know if it's a question can be answered, but the particulars of those of abuse in our community, are there would you say there's things that does a black community speak less about it than other communities, or do you know what I mean?
Well, it really depends, because today you have, when you turn on your television, you have these talk shows where you would see predominantly you would see like Caucasian people express or talk about their personal lives, where...
What you mean, like Jeremy Kyle?
Yeah, exactly. Where
let's say
there is a form of abuse which has been, involved their, day-to-day, life. And I think with our people, we like to. Sometimes we keep things private.
Yeah,
we do keep things private, and that could be due to a number of reasons. And I know also with, it's similar also with the Indian community, which tend to also keep things private as well.
Yeah, because when you think about those shows like Jeremy Kyle and stuff, it's a rarity that you see a person of color on there talking about those type of things, and it is more like, we're not going to be seen dead. Displaying our laundry, our dirty laundry like that, in them kind of things out in the public like that. Not only probably they wouldn't even want us on there, but do you know what I mean? Just for other racial things. But even if we would, I don't think we would take it up.
Yeah, and even when you do see a black person on this program, they're usually in a relationship with a white person. Yeah. So it's that. But also, as you say, it's like for us, I think the perception is for a black person to appear on that program is bringing shame on the family. Yeah. It's like the equivalent of airing your dirty washing out in public, and that is something that we do not do. But is that perception correct, Suraj? I mean, is that perception? If the perception is correct, is that helpful to us? That attitude.
Me personally, I think it depending on the platform. I don't personally think Jeremy Kyle is the place to air your dirty laundry, and this is where things become very challenging, because there are people within our community who probably would like to express their emotions of the effects of abuse they've been through, but some of the brothers and sisters in our community don't know how to do it. That's the thing, they don't know how, and they don't know where to do it. And also we have to also look into obviously the family as a whole, because when we're looking at generations which came before us, when you're trying to there was a thing where, as I remember growing up as a youngster, there's a thing where you don't speak when adults are speaking. You understand that? So if we're dealing with that, it becomes, as I said, it becomes even more challenging in itself. Then we don't tend to become very expressive as we age, so there's not really hardly any outlets out there where we can express ourselves, where we feel comfortable. And
you're absolutely right, but I do also think that times are changing in the sense of that I think our generation are a lot more expressive about what's going on for them, their feelings, their emotions, their situations, than say our parents or our grandparents and so forth. And that's to do with societal changes, in that sense. But I also want to sort of, you reminded me of a documentary that I watched not so long ago, or information about about abuse, about how abuse has been something that has been generational from slavery. And this one was specifically talking about black people in Jamaica and their homophobia and thing. It was based on the fact that plantations there were what they call them breeding farms and seasonal things. So where they would actually, where slavery was abolished and they could no longer import Africans, they were then breeding them, because in that sense, to create more. And what they would do was, they'd take the biggest, strongest man, and they would what they call buck break. Yeah, so they literally rape him in front of everybody, break his spirit down and so forth, and basically abuse and so on in that sense. Then the other thing that they would do was that they would take the fittest male and the fittest female that could breed, and it didn't matter whether it was your mother and son. They would put a bag over their head and basically breed them. So then this is where the development of incestual behavior started to occur, that type of sexual abuse and so on. So you can kind of see a linkage of where this abuse goes on, where abuse within the family, where your uncle or your auntie or your dad or so forth would trouble their own children, or would trouble their kinfolk and so forth in that sense, because it was something that was forced upon them and then continued. you know, and that constant breaking down of the mentality of one's mind, one's spirit, one's roots, one's beliefs, breaking that down then further embeds this abusive cycle that has been going on for generations. But we have now got to a point where we have to break from that, and we have to understand where that root is coming from and pluck that root out to be able to move forward so this abuse does not continue.
Exactly.
I was quite interested in terms of about black people not having a space to express their feelings about that abuse. Is that something you hope to create through your project?
Yes, definitely. As I mentioned, I'm planning to start, launch in 2017 a support group for black males who suffered from different forms of abuse, and obviously create the sessions as like therapy sessions in a African centered therapy sessions. So where we we understand the root of the problem at hand, and how we can overcome the problem and stuff. So I'm like currently in like write-ups at the moment. I'm just trying to get this ready for 2017, and I think from what I've seen and observed, I know that there's a few support groups right now for black women which are out there, whether it's in the UK or the US, but I don't see any for the black males. And I know when I've speaking to people about this, you get different feedback. Do you get some from obviously sisters are like, oh, why is it just about the males? This, that, and yeah, seriously. But this is not to say we're not, because I'm even soon I'm going to obviously be doing an interview from a sister what suffered abuse through the system and stuff. So it's not that, even though our main focus will be the black males,
it's not exclusive.
We're still going to be working with the black family as well.
Because it is part of you deal with the male in order to heal the larger group. You know what I mean? And again, we because what your response is not surprising me in terms of there might be some negative reaction to trying to put forward a program that is predominantly for black males and dealing with black male healing. But I think we need to understand that yes, we're all in need of healing,
of course,
male and female. But there are nuances. There are nuances in terms of how we as black males have been abused by the system, by whether it's system via family. Do you know what I'm saying? And those nuances will be different from how women have been abused from the system, whether it's from the system via the family. You know what I mean? In terms of a family ingesting the negative behaviors and negative attitudes that white supremacy places on us, and then we express it through our intimate relationships, whether it's parent to child, whether it's sibling, whether it's parent to parent. Do you understand? So I think there is a need, and I think black men want it. The few conversations I've had with a couple of groups of black men want that space where we can sit down among brothers and say, you know what, I'm hurting. Just that simple thing, I'm hurting. So we need that space, and I'm glad to hear that people such as yourself are in the process of creating that space.
So I hear what you're saying, Danny, and I hear that the need for it. My question is that how are you going to get black men to come out and actually participate, to take part, to be involved, to discuss, to open up, to be free? Because our men are like caged.
Hell no.
Caged. I can say caged animals is what I want to say. I really do want to say caged animals. So they are so locked deep down within themselves. How are you going to access that?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that question. It's obviously a thing what does take time, I'm I'm good at extracting information. So, but no, I've had discussions, you know, with brothers in the community and stuff, and you know, I still tend to use the Man in the Mirror initiative as to pull in our brothers and sisters. Like, I've got an up and coming event this February on February 2017, Saturday the 25th, which is titled "How We Protecting Our Black Youth from Abuse," which will be in North London. And you know, this is going to be a very, very good event. You know, I would advise brothers and sisters to obviously try to get down there and stuff, because this is important. And I don't, you know, when it comes to events, sometimes we could be, oh no, you know, I don't want to go today, you know. But sometimes certain events, you know, may happen once or twice in that 365 days in a year. So this is crucial. It shouldn't be a thing where we have to wait another decade to attend events like this. It depends on if you see this important, you know, because it's not just about you, it's not just about me, it's about we as a community. So it's about coming together and, you know, trying to come up with solutions, because I've done my research and the figures out there, like, more or less non-existent for black males within the UK who've been abused. So what I'm obviously using my like website and, you know, events as a platform to obviously get that information. And also I'm working with like counselors, therapists, social workers within the community, where you know, we're basically like coming together, you know, just bringing ideas back and forth, and just so we can make our brothers and sisters feel comfortable. So I'm using this event as a starting platform in order to formulate these workshops.
So the question was in your workshop, your event, sorry, is how are we protecting our black youth from abuse? So how are we doing that?
Yeah. Or are we? Yeah, that's a good question. Well, that's a question I'm asking. That's the question I'm asking everybody. So, you know, if you're asking my personal opinion, I don't think we're doing enough. Personally.
So you're posing that question because you believe we're not protecting them.
No, I don't feel like we're doing enough.
So the question is to provoke one's thoughts, to provoke the community's thought process, to say, you know, how are we protecting our youth from abuse? And if you're unable to answer that question, the likely is that you're not protecting them.
Well,
is that kind of, or is that me just surmising a bit too far?
Well, it's broad, because, you know, it's really about us as a collective. So, you know, what strategies have we put in place in order to prevent these things? There was recently, I can't remember how long ago it was, but there was a story on one of the hip hop greats, Africa Bambaataa, in the USA, who was one of the founding members of hip hop. Yeah, one of the founding members.
Not
And there was obviously allegations of him sexually abusing young boys who now are in their 40s and so on. So
okay, so when sorry, if you just see Danny's eyes popping out of his head right now, and that's because and then when I have to say, when Suraj told me this when we were speaking on the phone, I was like, what did you say? What do you say to me? Hold on, what? I was completely shocked. So just run that one again, please.
Yeah, so basically there's right now it's in the States. It's been probably just under a year now. There was obviously allegations of Africa Bambaataa sexually abusing young black boys who are now grown adults. And back in the day, there was a few other allegations which came up, but it just kind of was swept under the rug. But now, obviously, these brothers have had the courage to come out, and tell their story. And I think it's something which I felt was amazing, because I related to, obviously, the stories they came out with, because obviously it interlinks with the documentary. And I've been speaking to brothers who are activists over in the US who are dealing with topics of abuse in different formats in relation to our brothers and sisters who have gone through the abuse within society, in the black community. So this right now is the time. It's not about yesterday, it's not about tomorrow, it's about now. It's about now. This is the time to talk about it and come forth, because your story can empower others to come out and share their story. It's not about the thing is, if we overstood as a community that it's not about you, because we all go through problems. All of us go through problems. Yeah, but one thing people need to understand is we all go through problems.
And I think, do you know what's interesting is that you're seeing more and more people coming out. Okay, this is that's affecting in the white community at the moment, but there's so many historical abuse coming out now. So before you had the Jimmy Savile a couple of years back with all of those ones, but what's in the news at the moment is that the abuse that was been going on in football. And all of these ex-footballers now coming forward to say that they were abused by their coach, and and what's even more interesting about this particular one, because Jimmy Savile was abusing girls, young girls, children, and so forth, but this one is abuse of boys, and we don't usually see or hear much talk about male abuse and male on male abuse of men and boys, kind of thing, other than what you'd catch in the churches and the priests and things and stuff like that. But it's becoming much more on the lips of people to come forth now, and I think there's so much more courage now. We need that same courage to occur within our black community. We need now for those people that have historically been abused, or because often abusees become abusers.
Exactly.
And there was a clip that I think it was, again, just using celebrity, was Monique. Monique, yeah. So she was abused by her brother, and she spoke about this on the Oprah show, and she was abused by her brother. Now Oprah got her brother on and asked him, why did you do that? Why did you abuse your sister? And his response was, he was abused too. So he was abused too, and thought nothing of it, thought that's what you did, basically. That's how things come. It wasn't, you know what I mean? And so it's this continual cyclical behavior where abusees go on to be abusers, or they commit suicide, or they become something mentally challenged, or they sort of internalize it, and it comes out in different negative forms. And so when you see a lot of our young men that have been sectioned, that are or in mental establishments or something like that, a lot of the time we have to look and think, well, how did they get there? What has occurred for them to be in that particular state? And it's not necessarily, and most of the time it's not a psychosis they were born with, it's something that's developed, something that's been brought into their environment, something that they've been through that impacts their mental capacity to be able to deal with it. So a lot of our young men are in mental institutions or in prisons or so, and then when they go in prisons and abused even more in different ways, but so how do we begin to tackle that and bring about healing to our community?
First, I personally think first and foremost, you've hit a few pointers on the head there. And, one thing about our community is we're always quick to react from a reaction. So, instead of kind of looking into the root because of our patience, our lack of patience. You know, we're always like quick to like attack that brother or attack that sister, but not look at the root of why they behave the way they do. You know, have they come from some sort of traumatic experience? What has made them this way? So I think one thing with our community is we lack compassion. Yeah, compassion
for each other.
Yeah, we lack compassion, and I think the more compassion we give to brothers and sisters within the community, the more better our community will be, you know, as a whole. And this is the whole, and this is why, you know, love is a revolution within itself, you know. And there's just so much conflict, even with not just with the black family, but even with brother versus sister. You know, there's so much of it going on right now, you know, and this is why abuse stems. It goes into it, interlinks.
It's a fertile breeding ground.
Exactly,
fertile for that. If when you have that lack of compassion, and what you're saying resonates with me, because I teach Black Studies. And just in the last few weeks, the module we've been on has been sociology and psychology. And that's looking at the impact of white supremacy on us collectively and individually. And yes, one of the direct consequences of white supremacy is our lack of compassion about each other. And how, you know, we will be doubly hard on each other, on a black person, more than we will on a white person if they've done the same thing. Yeah, and I mean that's been proven by sociologists and psychologists for
you can even do that as a test yourself.
Yeah,
to
absolutely.
Prove that first hand. You know, some of these things, you know, you don't even need to get facts. Well, yes, bringing facts and figures always helps situation, but we can
just observe.
Exactly.
Just observe, and. You know, I've been following the football allegations. I'm into football. I'm a sports nut myself. But and one thing I've noticed is that the men who have come to speak forward, and again, you know, football is like most sport, is a very alpha male environment. You know what I mean? You got to be a man and stuff. So you didn't like my impression. So to actually reveal that as a young boy, I was sexually abused is doubly hard. One could argue it's doubly hard in that environment because you're supposed to be a tough alpha male. But one thing I've noticed is that the men who have come forward have all spoken of the relief of being able to tell their truth now. And how, you know, I was watching an interview with one guy, and he says like he's felt released from prison. He's been in prison for 40 years because he's been holding this secret, you know, and it's impacted on his ability to have other healthy relationships and stuff. And I think if we kind of try and promote that message to black men who have gone through some form of abuse, is that, listen, this is an opportunity for you to release yourself, to break that chain that's been holding you down in whatever form, and such. That's just my opinion.
It's you know, I don't want to really put the blame, but you know, a lot of our elders have a lot to answer to. You know, they do have a lot to answer to.
But then, do we know the abuse that they may have gone through?
Yeah, of course. And
I'm not excusing, but I'm saying, you know, as Melanie spoke about the cycles.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
And it is that, and it's, you know, because when you say that our elders have a lot to answer for, it kind of immediately, in my mind, puts up barriers for people to come forward and to speak their truths in that sense, you know. And well, because, you know, if you think your elders have a lot to answer for, but then if you also have a high level of respect for your elders, you know, there's an element of where, you know, you don't want to say anything against your parents or your grandparents or your elders and that kind of stuff. So that in itself is a barrier as well. So it's like, okay, rather than attributing blame to a person or so forth, is to overstand the situation in its entirety, to be able to recognize, well, these are the things that we can do that occurred, and this is a way that we can move forward without actually having to attribute. I know that blame in such a way that prevents people from coming forward, if that makes sense.
Can I suggest, I mean, there's a difference between blame and responsibility. That kind of stuff. So it's about because for me, if you're assigning blame, and we live in a blame society, this one's to blame, that's it, end of conversation.
Which is half the reason why we don't move forward, you know,
which is, you know, that person's to blame, and therefore that's the end of the conversation. But if you assign responsibility, part of responsibility is understanding. Why did this person take this action? Do you know what I mean? This person is responsible for this action. But in terms of understanding that responsibility is understanding why did this person
how they get to be
how did my father become my abuser? Do you know what I mean? If I just blame him, he's a wicked man, done, door shut, then that's it. I'm putting up a barrier to myself as well as
your own self-healing, and those are the barriers that I'm talking about. So if you're able to look at, like you said, look at how your father became the abuser and what happened to him to overstand that, or even to understand it in that sense, to be able to, because then that in itself allows a level of forgiveness, which then brings about your own self-healing, you know, because when we hold on to hatred and anger and so forth, that festers within us and manifests in all sorts of ways, whether it's illness, physical illness, mental illness, all of those sort of things, you know. So part of our healing that we need to do is to be able to look at, and yes, you can assign responsibility, but to allow things to move forward, to release that.
And what we also need to take in consideration is as you know, Danny mentioned, it's about accountability. So we have to look at, okay, I've done this, and how has it affected the other people? Because it's like a ripple effect. So if we're not taking accountability for our own actions, then it's basically just saying, okay, you know, I'm going to be selfish and, you know, forget about your feelings, you know, because at the end of the day, it's about accountability. It's like, if I was the abuser in any way, I'm going to have to take accountability for being that abuser, because I've known my abusive ways have affected other people around me. So
that's a level of self-awareness, isn't it? And that's asking the abuser to become self-aware of their actions and the impact their actions have on others. And sometimes that, because sometimes people don't even recognize themselves as being the abuser, you know, and especially if they're operating on a psychological level, on a mental level, you know, and so it's not physical abuse or sexual abuse, but they don't even recognize that their actions or the things that they do or say to a person is a form of abuse. Emotional abuse, exactly. Is a form of abuse. They don't recognize it, so they don't see themselves as being an abuser. So how do we reach those people? Or is it about reaching those people? Is it about reaching the abusee, who is then able to enlighten their abuser in the fact that they free themselves from it?
I think that's also the purpose of, you know, creating outlets, so at a later stage, or even at that present stage, people see what is going on within our community and, you know, eventually gravitate towards those outlets. So whether it's a documentary which I've created, you know, whether it's an event or some support group, like I'm currently writing a book which is going to be an extension from the documentary, and the book is going to be called The Man in the Mirror as well. It's also going to be known as a self-help book as well. So it's going to be going into the depths, because I know people, I know the documentary was very informative, and even on my side of things, it was quite informative. But, you know, I haven't even touched the iceberg. Like, I've only documented probably 60% I'm going 99.9. I'm gonna go in so deep. You know, people are gonna be. I think they're gonna be astonished with a lot of the honesty, because the way I feel is I've been through so much. You know, you can't break me, because I'm just. I've got nothing to hide. That's the thing, and I see this bigger than me. You know, that's like, for instance, even titling The Man in the Mirror. For those who've not seen it, they might kind of look at it and see, well, you know, it's all about him, but it's not, because it's about what we've all gone through, you know. And that's why I had guest speakers speaking on those particular areas of which, you know, are cause of concern with what we've experienced for many generations. So it's really about self-reflection, and also seeing it as it's bigger than you.
And I also think you're like you said, the book you're coming out with, and what you've done with Man in the Mirror, it shows a kind of strength that we need to see on display in our community, that inner strength, that emotional strength, you know, which again ties in with the project, in terms of, you know, us healing ourselves to be emotionally strong people, to be emotionally strong brothers, and be emotionally strong sisters, and not fear our emotional truths. Do you know what I mean? But have the strength to stand up and say, yeah, this is me. I saw it go.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yes.
I think we should just take a quick breath.
Yeah. I'm just getting there. I'm trying to line up something. But in the meantime, let me just remind you of who we are.
Primary Learning Center.
Who was that?
The Primary Learning Center.
Fantastic.
Time to rise. Time to shine. Time to elevate one's mind.
Yes, and that's exactly what we're doing here on the TPLC Educational Talk Show. We're elevating our minds in the presence of Suraj from Man in the Mirror project. Now, I love that title, Man in the Mirror, in the first instance. I love the fact that it is literally a man standing in front of the mirror, looking deep into his eyes and recognizing his soul. That's what I get from that title, The Man in the Mirror.
Yeah. I feel that. I feel
right there.
Yeah. I feel the same way. You know, I do feel the same way, and you know, it's not just about the man, because it's about, you know, it's also about the woman. You know, that's most important, because without the woman, there won't be no man. there won't be a man in the mirror. So yeah, it is. As I said, it is. Reflection on all within our community, and also those outside our community, because you know, we've also today we've touched on how it's been deep rooted, and obviously a lot of the stuff comes from the origins of slavery. You know, I've mentioned in the documentary about you know, the slave master, and how he used to beat the slaves, which I know you just touched on, Melenie, earlier on in the conversation. So what we need to obviously take in consideration, that this all stems from somewhere. It's just like, you know, watching TV, you know, and seeing certain things on TV which affects the psyche, you know, so it affects your subliminal conscience. And what happens is we start imitating things we see on TV, and sometimes we imitate these things and not even realize that we're doing it.
And that's the truth of it.
That's why it's called that's why it's all called programming.
And it really is. And you have to be mindful about what it is that you allow your children to watch.
And that's abuse in itself.
And what it
Absolutely.
Is, and what it is you watching yourself.
Yeah, because I remember so my daughter growing up was never allowed to watch EastEnders, and people would laugh and say, and her and other friends would laugh and say, how come you're not allowed to? But, you know, as far as I can say, there was nothing edifying in that show for her to watch, nothing at all, you know. And it's like, well, that wasn't the type of life or morals or values or understanding or anything like that in there. It was nothing, or even entertainment. It's nothing but drama, just pure nastiness a guan, you know. And I just thought, my little princess doesn't need to learn that. Do you know what I mean? And she can when she's older, if she chooses to watch it where she's got an understanding of what's real and what's not real, you know, in that sense, then that differently. And, you know, as it comes to be, she's turning 16 and all now still don't watch, she's not interested in it, you know. But it's them kind of things of just where you are being mindful of what it is that you're indoctrinating your child into, because that's essentially what it is. Subliminal messages are being passed through, and even there's so much images that we can't control that they see around them, so we do have to be educating them, you know. And so when it come back to that question about what are we doing to protect our youth from abuse, well, one of the key things I think is actually talking to our children about abuse, for them to be able to identify what abuse is, whether it is emotional, physical, or sexual abuse, or even just abuse on who you are, on your identity, you know, because a lot of those images as well do abuse that fact, you know what I mean, in that sense. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You know, just deep rumor.
It makes sense. Especially, you know, if we're talking youngsters receiving abuse, many the relationship can be that they're not even aware that they're being abused.
That's what I mean. So that's why
that's
why we need to talk to our children, for them to understand and show them what abuse would look like, you know, as opposed for it to be a taboo subject. So therefore they have no idea that they've encountered or entered into an abusive relationship, say when they're older, you know, of that kind of thing. Because many of our young children, our youngsters 15, 16 are in relationships, but the conduct of their relationship is very controlling, can be in those sort of things, and they don't recognize, you know, they can misconstrue that with love, or what they perceive to be love. So where is that notion coming from? Is it something that they're seeing in the home? Perhaps their parents have demonstrated that kind of, you know, if they're seeing abuse in the home, so even if it's not necessarily physical abuse, but even just in verbal abuse in the home, or controlling abuse from one partner to the other, then they're going to think, well, that's what love looks like, and that's what it's supposed to be. And so, do you know what I mean? So there's even having that real conversations with your child to say, you know, that's not how it's supposed to go. And yes, as much as me and your father are go answer, but no, say that that's not what it's supposed to be. Do you know what I mean? There's a level of truth that needs to be spoken.
And you know, us as parents, we're both parents here. You know, as you said, in terms of how we communicate with our children, there's a verbal tonality that over time that child ingests and thinks, oh, well, that's the normal way I should be spoken to. Do you understand? And then they get into young adulthood and full adulthood, and it exaggerates, and to the point where you know, you might get a woman who ends up with a man who just talks to her like she's dirt, but she accepts that because it's the seeds were planted in the way that she was communicated to as a child, and the same for boys. So
What do you think about that?
Yeah, it's definitely a chain reaction, because it's, you know, as I said, it starts from a young age. But as you've mentioned, you know, it's about informing our children and what abuse is, and that's not just and that's abuse, whether it's like mental, physical, sexual, and as I said, it stems into different things, because obviously you also highlighted the imagery we see. So when we look at certain images from a very young age, and we keep on looking at those images, as we get older, you know, we may feel a lack of love, you know, a lack of self-worth. So I think it's important to communicate, you know, because that's one thing which is missing. That's another thing missing within the black family: communication with the elder and the person who's younger, you know. And we need to like communicate about the things which are important, you know, not just soap operas or whatever, you know. And it's about building a solid foundation. which can help us later on in life, because obviously abuse can affect your working relationship with your colleagues. It can affect your personal relationship with your spouse. It can affect your relationship with family members, and the list goes on, really.
Well, I'm going to want to bring in a little healing vibe. Okay. Because ultimately that's what we're speaking of, our need for heal. And this is a meditation, spoken word piece. It's called Good Morning, Brother. And just going to let this run for a couple of minutes, yeah? Good morning, brother. Welcome to your day. Welcome to your life. Embrace yourself on this never before lived day. That surge of energy flowing through your veins like the morning sun is your manhood awakening. Your ancestors rise with you. Their strength, their wisdom, their courage rises with you. Inhale their gifts. Exhale your gift. Welcome to your day. Claim your divine right to define yourself. To become all that you wish for yourself. Your reality is bigger and better than any dream. Do not be discouraged by those who do not understand you. Be encouraged by all that has been before you, all that lays ahead of you. Yours is a great journey. Be life, be love, be your natural self. You are rich beyond your wildest dreams, and today you are awake. Today you live your wealth. Be the man you want to be for yourself, for your children, for your woman, your sister, your mother, your brother, your father. Know that manhood begins in the heart. An open heart creates a strong man. Let not the memories of past and present transgressions cloud your mind. Look within. There you will find clarity. Whatever your mind can conceive, your body can achieve. Step by step, brick by brick, build the pyramid that is you. Be not afraid of touching the sky. It is a reflection of the vastness of you. Be not afraid of what lays below. It is a reflection of your infinite depth. This world and all its beauty, strength, courage, and love is a reflection of you. On this earth, at this time. On this earth, at this time, only you have your mind. Good morning, brother. Good morning, brother. Yes, yes. Good morning, brother. Today is your day. Seize it. Make the best of it. Be the best that you can be. This is the TPLC Educational Talk Show. That's the Primary Learning Center Educational Talk Show, co-hosted by Danny T of Evolving Creatives and Melenie Hibbert of the Primary Learning Center. And we have our guest Suraj, who's telling us about his Man in the Mirror project. And yeah, you spoke of an event that's happening in February, correct?
Yes, February the 25th.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I've got the flyer in front of me, and it's taking place at the Hornsey Road.
Yes,
Baths.
so basically it's going to be taking place at a venue called The Platform.
Yes, the Platform Theatre, Hornsey Road, Baths, 2 Tillman Place, London, NW7 7EE. Okay, let me place a scenario, yeah? Because we touched earlier about the difficulty of getting brothers to these events and getting brothers to open up about these things. So, I'm a black man, and I resonate with what the event is about, so I find myself there. But I'm shy. I place myself at the back of the hall. You know what I mean? I ain't engaging with nobody. What am I going to receive during the day? Take me through the day.
Well, on the day of the event, I will be giving those within our community a brief synopsis about what the Man in the Mirror project is about.
Okay.
And just letting people know of the history and the stage it's at currently. After that, I will have a series of guest speakers who will be speaking on the day, who specialize in certain fields like social work, therapy, and mentoring and so forth, which obviously all relates with the topic, where they will be talking about their personal experiences within their independent businesses, which they provide to help the community, and also how they feel about the topic as well.
Okay, so for example, I've got the flyer in front of me. If I can I go through the list?
Yes, of course you can.
So you have a brother, Raheem Shabazz, from the USA, filmmaker and entrepreneur. What's he going to bring?
Raheem Shabazz is one of our special guest speakers, who has a documentary out called The Elementary Genocide. He's produced Elementary Genocide 1 and also the Elementary Genocide 2. Currently finalizing Elementary Genocide 3, which will have I don't want to give away none of the guest speakers yet, but obviously the Elementary Genocide collective basically gives people an insight on the prison system in the USA and how it affects the young black boys within that system.
Okay, and then next, a name I'm slightly familiar with.
Who do we have next?
Denise Lewis.
Denise Lewis, yes, Denise Lewis, brilliant Empress. Denise Lewis is basically co-author of a book. Let me see the book. Sorry, Denise.
Black Children.
Because it's such a mouthful. So basically, her book is Black Children in Care and Health, and also Care in Skin. So it basically talks about maintaining the hair of black children, because a lot of these black children are placed in foster homes with white families who don't know anything about their hair or any other maintenance,
Skin.
Yeah, even their skin, even let alone trying to relate to them. That is a topic within itself.
There are really, I remember seeing in school growing up, and it wasn't necessarily that these children were in foster care. It was often that it was either they were in foster care, or that you would sometimes get the mixed race children, and where the white mother was unable to deal with the unruly hair. So you'd see so many mixed race children, and their hair was just like a frizz bomb, just complete, because they don't know about grease or I'm telling you. And then you'd see the ashy skin and stuff, and those ones now, when you'd see black children with the ashy skin and unkept hair and stuff, then you'd look at them and think, who's looking after you? Because you know something wasn't quite right, you know, in that sense, because the hair keep and the skin just wasn't. Yeah,
and that's going to impact on their own self-image.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Self-esteem.
Yeah, all of that.
So yeah.
Okay, and next we have Judy Worrell.
Yeah. Basically, Judy,
counselor, stroke psychotherapist.
Yes. So as you said there, she's a counselor, stroke psychotherapist, and yeah, Judy will basically be also holding a therapy session with anyone who is interested on the day, or anyone who feels they need to know more or have that therapy. So basically she will be...
So she's offering like what, sessions on the day?
Yes, there's going to be a session on the day, yeah. So we felt, let's bring that into the equation.
What, like a group session sort of thing, an introduction to what it would be like kind of thing?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
So it'd be a group session on a day.
Very interesting, yeah.
Definitely, because we're trying to come at all angles here. We don't want this just to be like, a regular event you go to. We want you to walk away with something,
So more interactive.
Yes, something
Not
more
just a
interactive.
Passive, sit down and listen to speakers.
Exactly,
Okay.
So how else will you be making it interactive?
We will get to that part after speakers.
Okay, and next, Stephen Graham, author and health, sports and life coach and filmmaker.
Yeah, Stephen Graham. Sorry, just wanted to say, Denise Lewis and Stephen Graham are also guest speakers within the Man in the Mirror documentary.
Okay.
Which they had the most profound contribution ever with their experiences in their fields, and just experiences in general with working with young people in those fields. And yes, Stephen Graham he's a influential brother in the community. He's doing amazing work. He also does his own documentaries where he obviously flies out to North Africa and other places, and the brother's amazing. He's also got a book out called I'm a Gun, a documentary I'm a Gun.
Rings a bell.
Yeah, he also he's also been in prison obviously for 9 years, and talking about how he overcame adversity, because obviously he went for prison for manslaughter.
We need those stories.
Yeah, definitely. And it's funny because when I met him leading up to producing the documentary, and he's just sharing experiences. He wanted me to come and speak at his event and stuff, and we was just basically giving each other a talk on our backgrounds and stuff. And I just felt I was astonished with what he's been through, going to prison for 9 years, in not just in the UK, but obviously being transferred to Jamaica as well, back and forth. And when I told him about my experience, it was like, you've won. And I'm like, well, you know what?
Wow.
It's not a competition, but
I feel,
and it's fun, and that's why I said I've got a lot more which is coming out into the book, So it is. So
that's deep.
But yeah, go on. Sorry. I know it's
I'm just still kind of like stunned in the fact that he said, you won. And I mean, when you're hearing about his experiences and to hear say that you won, it's like, really? It's even worse than that.
And it's Spanish Town prison,
can it get worse? That's yeah, exactly. And
I'm just get her name right. Debbie Arroyo.
Yeah, basically Debbie is the founding member of the Africa Children's Charity. So Debbie and her colleagues work with our young people who've obviously been through abuse and so forth, and she's doing amazing work in the community. They've been up and running for a hot minute, and I just felt that she would be a great contribution to come down to the event and obviously share her experiences of how the charity got formed and what the charity actually does and how it can be a benefit to our youth of today.
Excellent. So again, those are the speakers. And you mentioned the interactive nature of
yes.
the event.
Also, normally, I don't know how, I know different people that, they come to events and stuff, and sometimes they don't know what to expect, or there's other people who have been to events before and, they're not really too satisfied after they leave. What I wanted to do this time around is, I would like us to work together as a community. So what I decided to do is come down on the day and bring a flip chart, because I want to create an
flip chart
interactive. I want to create an interactive session, because I'm trying to get feedback from the community on what their perception on abuse actually is.
Right.
So I think sometimes it's just the best way, because I don't want, the people in the audience feel that they're not involved. So it's all well and good, speakers like myself and whoever coming on the day to kind of give their personal experience and obviously give their own perceptions on abuse. But it's even more powerful when you have a collective of Nubian people just coming together to kind of bring their thoughts on abuse, and also come up with what they feel could be a solution to help our community overcome these issues and also prevent these things from happening.
So that's what you think the takeaways are going to be for the individual that comes to attend this event, that when they leave the event, they will have an idea or action steps that they can take to further empower themselves.
Yes, because it's, as I said, there's all these things are relevant, especially taking away the start of the Man in the Mirror project, so this is more or less the extension now from after the documentary. What is next? There has to be a solution now. It's all well and good having an informative documentary, but what can we do now to come together? And that's why I mentioned in that the year of 2017, I want to start support groups for black males. I think it's crucial right now, and yes, it's going to be a tough one, but you have to start from somewhere, and that's why coming together, because we've also sorry, I just wanted to mention I have a website which is www.seedsofelevation.co.uk, which you could find out more about the Man in the Mirror project. And at the moment, we're currently updating our website. We're also going to have like a private forum for obviously those to register and obviously share their experiences. And also it helps us get figures out there, because we're trying to create this platform to get figures, so we're trying to be that next hub, so we can help each other. So with any services we can obviously provide as a collective, we can help our community as a collective, because the figures out there more or less, what
do you mean when you say figures? Do you mean as in
as in numbers?
Yeah, as in numbers.
Okay.
Because I've been doing my research, and you can find figures on like drug abusers or there's so like whatever. Yeah. There's so many crime, just different aspects of crime, but when it comes to ethnic minorities, they just don't have those figures, especially when it comes to black males.
But we know that those figures are vast. We know that there's of course. If people were to come forward or to document or to speak of what they've been through, we know that those figures would be a massive, huge amount. But it's something that's not, as usual, not spoken about within our communities, and it's hidden.
And it's not visible. Like, for instance, recently, I also did filming for a new trailer on breaking so basically the trailer on breaking the silence of abuse within our community, which we filmed a couple of weeks ago. It's just going through editing stages at the moment, and hopefully should be launched in January 2017.
I'll be interested to see that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Most definitely, and continue to push, and push this message forward, because it is a very important message. We do need to be talking about the abuse that goes on within our community and what it is that we can do to combat it, to overcome it, to understand and to ensure that it doesn't continue, and continue the cycle into the next generation and the next generation. So we're all about breaking cycles here, elevating our minds, elevating our children, elevating our community, so that we can move forward on a stronger foot and build our empires. Basically, our community empires is what we need, and that building of our community will then further empower many aspects within our community.
Absolutely. So, Suraj, this journey you've been on, Man in the Mirror, started as an idea, became a DVD, a documentary, it's gone global. Now you mentioned it's transforming into the next stage of a book, events, and what have you. How has that impacted on you?
That's very good
personally.
Question. Very good question.
Because how long are we talking about? What, 3, 4, 5 years?
No, it's actually just gone past 2 years.
2 years?
Just gone past 2 years. It's funny. I went through a lot of events during that period. Because when you're thinking, yes, you're gonna offloading all the baggage. I went through some crazy experiences. Let me tell you something. Like, I had to witness a young brother getting killed outside my old estate in Sydenham, South East London, which was quite traumatizing. Also, I experienced so many different things. An eviction. I faced eviction because I mainly funded this solo, and I did obviously reach out to the community, and the community was supportive, but at the time I felt, what, we need more support here. I just felt like we needed more support. So I did receive a few donations, which was helpful, which I won't take away. And, I'm grateful to all those brothers and sisters what came forth and obviously helped it. And obviously the first event was a huge success and stuff. But I was still going through a lot of emotional things. Obviously I broke up with my ex-partner as well a month before the event. So I went through so much. Just certain 1 or 2 bad experiences with 1 or 2 empresses, being on a rebound of that. And I know it's jokes. I can be honest. It's all going to be in the book. It's all going to be in the book. It's all going to be in the book. Sure. But I went through a number of things, and I felt, because obviously people are like, because it's funny you asked that question, Danny, because people were asking me that, and they was like, have you ever tried counselling? I was like, no, I don't need it, but then, last year I decided to take counselling on board, the Western version, and it brought me back, because it's funny, because where I was receiving the counselling was right next to my old secondary school. Okay. And the counsellor was a black lady, so I was thinking, boy, coincidence, what's going on here, and
the stars were aligned, man.
Exactly, and it was one of the best things I ever done, because it helped. The documentary didn't just help take 50% of that pain away, but also receiving that counselling, and also going abroad, because I went abroad last year for the first time in 6 years, and before that I was in obviously Nigeria visiting one of my mum's sisters for the first time as a grown adult, and I spent like a month out there, just under a month in Nigeria, and I would say a couple years just before the documentary launched, when my mum was traveling to Nigeria to visit her sister, she passed. So there is a lot of things I don't want to spoil it for those, because I still want people go get your copy. You understand? Because as I said, there's certain things I couldn't put in a documentary. Well, I did put them in, but they got cut out, because originally it was 5 hours long. Wow. So we had to cut out just over 3 hours of conversation out. So what we're going to do is we're going to put that in the book.
Okay. I just want to I heard you say something there that just made me want to jump in. Now, you said, someone said to you, why don't you get counselling? And it was no. Yeah. Now, that is the attitude of a lot of our black men. Now, you was fortunate enough to get past that and go and do counselling and reap the benefits from it. But the attitude of our men is that initial response, and they don't move past it.
Yeah.
It's like when someone suggests counselling, therapy, some kind of support to help deal with your emotional baggage, it's no, don't need it, don't want it, not interested, not going to open it. So how do we, it comes back to that same question that I said, how do you engage them? How do you get them on board?
Yeah, well, it could be done in different ways. As I said,
What made you eventually say, yeah, all right, let me go?
Oh boy, I ain't gonna give that trade away, but it's gonna be in the book.
But you see, but that's the key thing, though, I think. I understand about you wanting to keep it for the book, but it's a key point because it was your turning point that allowed you to go and get counselling, that allowed you to be able to say that it was the best thing that you'd ever done. Yeah. So what was it that made you change? Just a snippet of what made you change your mind and say, yeah, do you know what? I need to go and do this.
The state of mind I was in while I was dating somebody. So that's all I'm going to say. The state of mind I was in when I was dating
I can relate.
Yeah. And certain emotions which make you feel, you know what I'm saying. But I'm going to keep it all in the book because the book...
Okay, I'm going to order my advanced copy now.
Yeah. So that's I hope that that's going to go worldwide at the moment because the reception I've received is amazing. From even brothers and sisters abroad what have ordered a copy. And one or two people wanted me to come to speak in the USA, which I'm just still in the middle of. Dealing with at the moment, but it's amazing. The journey's amazing.
Okay, so we're coming up to the last sort of 7-8 minutes of the show now, and I just want to make sure that you've had an opportunity to express all that you wanted to in reference to the Man in the Mirror project, in reference to the how we're protecting our black youth from abuse, and basically to reiterate that action steps that you want us as a black community to do. So the mic's yours.
Oh, well, we need to, in order to protect them, we also need to protect ourselves. We need to take accountability for our actions. And we need to also self-reflect, how this situation has created a huge impact within our community and just within our families. I don't think a lot of people may see it like that, because when we do go through our emotions, we can be quite selfish. Not realizing that, some of these situations affect, it's like a ripple effect. It affects, everybody around us. Because we tend to, go along with our everyday lives. And because we've not received no type of therapy or been bold enough to be like, you know what, I need to do something about my situation, we don't become the best role models for our children, the next generation coming up. So we obviously have to take also accountability as adults, where we can use ourselves as that vessel, which can empower our young people. So yeah,
we have to live it. We have to. What we want for our youth, we have to live for ourselves.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? That's the only way it's going to happen. There was a question Melanie posed earlier and about about your step to take counselling and the initial resistance and how that resistance is can be argued is common among black folk, and my perception of that is about the nature of manhood and how we see manhood, our own definition of manhood. Whose definition are we living? And I think we need to create. I think we are creating through events such as yours and through work such as yours, creating a new black manhood, because we've spent 500 years having our manhood suppressed or fed to us in negative ways that just keep us down and keep us inflicting pain on ourselves and on each other. And I think there needs to be, I would argue we're in the process, but we need to continue this process of almost reimagining ourselves as black men, as full 360 degrees, sensitive, caring, and when you say that, it's like, I'm soft. You know that vibration, I'm soft, because, and I'm not dissing in the sense of we've needed to be tough. I can remember some of my father and my uncle's experiences. They worked on building sites and stuff. They had to, when they came to this country, they had to be a certain, that certain persona, physical, aggressive, you know what I mean? And I'm not going to show my emotion to this man because I can't let him know, say that I'm feeling that. But then maybe what they did is they brought that into the home. Mm-hmm. You understand? Now, we're of a next generation. We've got a different, we've witnessed them. We've also got a different education from what they received, and we're living in a different situation. Yes. So maybe we have a bit more knowledge that we can start to apply, but we need to apply it to ourselves. You understand?
It reminds me of, our parents were. They would speak differently to different people. Yeah. So when they pick up the phone and they'd have this what you call a spooky talk, to be able to put themselves across in that way. It's almost like, our men need to be able to develop that. They need to be able to have that tough exterior that's required to survive in this society outside, like you said, to be able to deal with the ignorance and the of certain attitudes that are out there and faced with. But they also need to be able to adapt for when they're in the home, to get in touch with that sensitivity, to get in touch with that feminine side, so that they can communicate with their empress at a level that builds the family. We got to be able to adapt with their children, and that's what I mean, that builds the family. We got to be able to adapt to the situation, to be able to flip from one to the other in that momentum, to move accordingly, so that when you're out in society, you're protected, you have your armor on, so to speak. You have your armor on while you're out, but when you come home, you're able to disrobe, take that armor off, and communicate as yourself. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well,
we're just buffering. We're just buffering. You know what I mean?
Okay, people. Well, like I said, we are coming to the end, so we have about a minute and a half left of the show. So, just to sort of finish off, final thoughts. Your final thoughts on this topic. I think me personally, I found it to be very, very enlightening, and it is a topic that we need to get behind and support. We need to call out abuse. We need to talk about it. We need to enlighten our children. We need to enlighten each other. We need to edify each other, to recognize that abuse is going on within our community, and it's not something that we need to be ashamed of. We need to speak out on these things so that we can educate and elevate and overcome these things. So that's my final thoughts.
All I wanted to say, for those who want to connect with the Man in the Mirror project, you can go on the website www.seedsofElevation.co.uk, or you can contact the business number, which is 07788 262 618.
Say that again, please.
So that's you can contact the business number, which is 077 88 262 618, or just log on to the Seeds of Elevation website, which is www.seedsofelevationco.uk.
Nice one. I want to give thanks to Suraj for bringing this conversation to us. I hope you've all had a good listen and found it a rewarding conversation. It's a conversation that will continue and continue and continue. I am Danny T of Evolving Creatives.
Yep, and this is Melenie Hibbert from the TPLC, and we'd like to thank you for taking the time and listening to this wonderful show about abuse in our community. So thank you and blessings.
Thank you for the Primary Learning Centre giving me the platform to speak about it.
Empower your children. Visit www.theprimarylearningcentre. Empower your children. Visit www.theprimarylearningcentre.